In this video, I want to introduce you to a new paper writing strategy. And it's something that I want to invite you to try in my class, and hopefully you can apply it to your other classes. What you're looking at here on the screen is an example essay that a student wrote for me a couple of years ago. And while it's not perfect, it earned a very high A in my class. And if you read it closely, you can find the imperfections, I'm sure. But we're not going to worry about that. It earned an A, and the student wrote this paper using the strategy I'm going to share with you. And the student was somebody who hated writing, and by the end of the class, I think he still hated writing, but he felt more confident doing it, and he said it was because of the strategy that I shared with him. So now, before I can share the strategy with you, I need to make sure that you understand some of the terminology I'm going to be using. So we're looking at a complete essay here, and it's formatted to MLA standards. We're not going to worry too much about that. We're going to worry more about the strategic writing process. And so what you need to understand here is that this is a 5-paragraph essay, and you can see here's paragraph 1. We get into paragraph 2, which we can recognize the paragraphs because the first line is indented. Paragraph 3, paragraph 4, and then finally paragraph 5. So this is a 5-paragraph essay. Paragraphs are chunks of text that are all sentences and words that are all related around a single idea. So then, some other things we want to notice is what these paragraphs are called. The very first paragraph of any essay is going to be called the introduction. And this paragraph's job is just to warm readers up for what the paper is going to be all about. After the introduction, the following paragraphs are called the body. The body is where you make your argument, you tell your story, you explain your ideas, or whatever, you get into whatever you're trying to accomplish in the paper. Now, because this is a 5-paragraph essay, the first paragraph is called the introduction, then we get into body paragraph 1, followed by body paragraph 2, and finally we get body paragraph 3, and then it ends on a paragraph called the conclusion. And so to clarify, your essay will begin with an introductory paragraph where you warm readers up to the material you're going to cover. It then gets into the body, and those paragraphs are related to what you're going to argue or the story you're going to tell or the ideas you're going to explain. And in a 5-paragraph essay, there'll be 3 of those body paragraphs. That's kind of the minimum number you need to make a robust essay at the college level. You could certainly have more with some papers, but generally speaking, 5 paragraphs is the minimum. Intro, 3 bodies, and then the conclusion paragraph is just where you kind of wrap things up in a summative way and provide a sensation of closure for your reader. So now let's make sure we understand some key sentence terms. Thesis statement. The thesis statement is the most important sentence you write in any paper, and the best place to put it is the last sentence of the introduction paragraph. Now, the thesis statement expresses the main idea of the entire paper. And so readers can go to this sentence if they know where it is, they can read it, and they will know what your entire paper is about. The next most important sentences would be the first sentence of each body paragraph. And these are called topic sentences. So the thesis is the main idea of the entire paper. Each paragraph gets what's called a topic sentence, and that would be the first sentence of each body paragraph. And the first sentence of each body paragraph is like a mini thesis that gives the main idea just of that paragraph. And so the paper has a thesis which gives the main idea of the entire paper. Each paragraph underneath it has a topic sentence, which is a sentence that gives the main idea of just that paragraph, what that one paragraph will focus on. And topic sentences are only needed on body paragraphs. You don't need those on the intro or the conclusion. So now that we've got the basic terminology out of the way, we can now look at how you should be approaching your papers in my class. And so, instead of starting at the top of the page as you've most likely done in previous classes, we're going to try something new. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to gray everything out in this paper. And it's going to get hard to see, but don't worry about that. I'll darken things up as we need them. So we're going to begin with that most important sentence, the thesis statement. And if you remember from a moment ago, that's the last sentence of the introduction paragraph. We're going to make that visible. So what I'm going to ask that you try in my class is instead of just writing at the top of the page and working your way down, hoping you end up somewhere good, I'm going to ask that you try and write your thesis statement first, before anything else. Now remember, the thesis statement is a sentence, sometimes two, that expresses the main idea of the entire paper. And you'll write this a week or two before you write the paper. And so what you're going to do is you're going to give me a sentence that is what you hope will be the main idea of the whole paper. And we have an agreement that it won't be perfect when you write it the first time, and that you are allowed to change your mind, and that you might make major changes, or maybe you'll make little tiny tweaks here and there. But it's an agreement that you will come up with one sentence that expresses what you hope will be the main idea of that entire paper. Will it end up being the main idea? You never know. But at least you have that one sentence that you can let me know where you hope your paper is headed. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect, but at least you'll have that thesis down. And from there, then I'm going to ask you in a week or two, I'm going to ask that you write out your 3 topic sentences. Remember, the topic sentences, each one is the main idea just of the paragraph that it starts. And we're not going to worry about writing the paragraphs. Instead, we'll think about what we hope to cover in our body paragraphs. And so if you see me or hear me use the phrase topic sentences or outline, I'm referring to the 3 main sentences for the body of your paper. So let's go ahead and darken those in. And we can recognize them because each one is the first sentence of a body paragraph. And so an outline in my class tends to be pretty short, a thesis and 3 topic sentences. And so around the 2nd or 3rd week of class, you'll have the 4 most important sentences of your paper written. And again, we have an agreement. I understand that these sentences won't be perfect yet. They're a plan for where you hope your paper will go. A plan for the paper's entire main idea, and then a plan for each paragraph, kind of like a sub-plan. Now, once you get these key sentences written, then you can go back and you can start writing the body of the paper. And this is where you really fill in all of your ideas. If you're making an argument, this is where you start to support it. If you're telling a story, this is where you fill in all the details. This is the bulk of the paper, what makes a paper what it is. It's all the substance. Now notice, it might look kind of weird. We haven't addressed how you begin the paper, the introduction. And that's what I think makes students feel the most uncomfortable. But let me put it to you this way. How would you be able to introduce a paper that you haven't written yet? It'd be like trying to introduce a person you never met. It'd be very difficult and awkward. And so when you sit down to write a paper and you try to write the introduction before you've written anything else, that's where the writer's block happens. That's where you're left staring at a blank screen. So I say, put off the introduction. Hold off on writing the beginning of the paper until you're deep into it and you've already written your thesis, you've already written your 3 main topic sentences, and you've written the body material. None of that has to be perfect, but it will give you an idea of what the paper is going to be about. And then you can go back and introduce that material and warm readers up to it. Finally, after you've introduced your thesis and all of the content that you'll put in your body, then finally you can get down to the conclusion and wrap things up. You'll have said everything you want to say. You'll have made all of your main points. You'll have revisited your thesis probably 10 times and made it perfect. Those topic sentences will be dialed in and they'll match your thesis. Every sentence in the body will link back to the topic sentences and back to the thesis. And by the time readers get to your conclusion, there'll be no doubt what you were trying to convince them of, or what story you were trying to tell, or what process you were trying to outline, or what ideas you were trying to explain. So, going forward, I hope you'll trust me and give this writing strategy a try. If you have any questions about this type of writing strategy or any of the terminology I use in this video, go into Brightspace, shoot me an email, and I'll do my best to help.